Council meeting for January 22nd. Order. Let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All individuals are asked to either silence or turn off cell phones, pagers, and other electronic devices that may disrupt the meeting. Approval of the agenda. Approve the agenda as posted in accordance with the open meeting law, and herein place all agenda items on the table for discussion. What's the wish of the council?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Liljegren, second by Councilmember Hansen. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes. Approval of the minutes. Special work session meeting of January 7th, 2019, and the regular meeting of January 7th, 2019. Approve. What's the wish of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Knopfler, second by Councilmember Storley. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes. Approval of the bills. Checks 99938 through 99969, totaling $62,334.90 through December 31st. Approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Starley, second by Councilmember Goshak. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Checks 99935 through 99937 and 99970 through 1000022, totaling $787,073. Approve.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Goshek, second by Mayor Zilka. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes. Awards, donations, presentations, and proclamations. Donations. Resolution 2019-06, accept donations for the fourth quarter. Lori.
So before you tonight, Resolution 2019-06 is donations for the fourth quarter of 2018. Includes a granite bench that was placed in Veterans Memorial Park, donated by the American Legion, cash donation for the library, a $10,000 donation for the Otter exhibit, $6,000 from Kiwanis for playground equipment. Fire Relief made 2 donations to the city, for one for fire prevention material and the other for the thermal imaging camera. Those 2 total just over $6,800. The Little Falls Limburg Lions donated a memorial plaque to be placed in the Limburg Lions Park on the west side. Lone Eagle Auto Club donated $100 to the fire department, and the local Youth Artist Project did garbage can art again this fourth quarter, and then a donation from Sadrusky's for $100 for the police department.
What's the wish of the council?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Storley, second by Councilmember Hansen. It's a resolution. Call a roll, please.
Knopfler?
Yes.
Liljegren?
Yes.
Lundberg?
Yes.
Zilka?
Yes.
Hurkacz?
Yes.
Storley?
Yes.
Hansen?
Yes.
Gushik?
Yes.
Carries.
Consent agenda. Agreement, Morrison County Sheriff Chaplaincy approve. Animal Control Report, December 2018 received. Authorize advertisements. Temporary seasonal laborer for streets, parks, temporary seasonal engineering aide, temporary golf cook, bartender, pro shop, clubhouse attendant, and groundskeeper and wastewater operator approve. Building report, December 2018 receive. Economic Development Authority minutes, December 2018 receive. Fire report, December 2018 receive. Heritage Preservation Commission minutes, January 2019 receive. Investment recap dated December 31st, 2018 receive. Pay equity report, 2018 accept. Police report, December 2018 receive. Public Works report, December 2018 receive. Recycling report, October 2018 receive. Wastewater report, December 2018 receive. Water report, December 2018 receive. What's the wish of the council?
Motion to accept.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Storley, second by Councilmember Liljegren. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes. Public hearings. Resolution 2019-07, order in surface and or utility improvements, Block 22, Water Power Company Number 2. Consider, adopt. Greg.
Good evening. Tonight we've got the public hearing for our 2019 street improvement project, which is a petition project between 7th and 8th Avenue on the southwest part of town on 9th and 10th Street. We do have the affidavit of publication for the project, as well as the affidavit of mailing for the public hearing notice. Location project, this is the southwest part of town. Lindbergh Drive is here on the south. You've got 5th Avenue southwest here. There's a stretch of gravel avenues, as well as the alley here is the petition. So like I mentioned, it's on 7th Avenue southwest and 8th Avenue southwest between 9th and 10th Street. So the project need, when we looked at the project itself, there was 6-inch water main installed back in 1989. That was on 8th Street, which serves the properties. Sanitary sewer was installed in the adjacent streets. Storm sewer was installed at the intersections. All of the underground utilities looked good. But the request, it's got gravel surfacing, and they're looking to upgrade this to an urban street. We do have a petition by 35% of the property owners for this particular project. As you can see, it's a typical gravel street on the southwest part of town. The request was also for blacktop in the alley, and you'll see in a little bit here, it's an existing gravel alley. Again, we have that 35% petition by the property owners. This is the picture of the alley looking down. So the proposed improvements, we'd be looking at a 32-foot urban street, like our normal streets that we reconstruct. It's a little bit narrower on that 32-foot section. So 7th and 8th Avenue Southwest would get that 32-foot urban street, curb gutter, 3.5 inches of bituminous, and then the aggregate base. And then we'd be doing a subcut in that stretch as well. The west side of town usually has a little bit siltier sand as opposed to the east side, so we do that subcut to make sure we don't get frost heaves in that pavement section. The alley itself, we'd be looking at a 16-foot paved alley, 2 inches of bituminous on there, and then 5 inches of aggregate base. The costs associated with the project, construction would be coming in at, we're estimating $184,279. Contingency would be $18,428. When you add the engineering, legal, and admin, we're looking at $16,217. And then total project costs of $218,924. The funding for this particular project, we'd be looking at assessments as well as city picking up a share of it. Assessments come in at about 13.6%, $29,693, and then the city picking up the remainder at $189,231. You will notice this 13.6%, and we kind of mentioned this a couple meetings back. If we were to bond for this project alone, we wouldn't meet the 20%. And so in order to make a project like this move forward, we do have to tie it in with other projects. So this year, obviously, we'd be looking at doing the Trunk Highway 27 project in conjunction, so this would be able to fit in with that. We bid them separately, but in purposes of bonding, we would be able to combine them together for that purpose. So preliminary assessment rates for this project, we're looking at, again, the 32-foot urban section. The properties along this stretch are actually on the side lot, so they will be at the $13.88 per foot. When we calculate out the front footage, that is basically the short side of the lot. When we have the side footage, which is the long side of the lot, that's at 50% of the rate. So you notice the 1388 is half of what that 2776 is. And then the alley, that's at 100% to the adjacent property owner, so that's at $20.37 per foot for the alley. The street one is actually split up a number of ways so that the residents pay a portion of it and the city picks up some additional portion above and beyond this 86% because of the overall cost for it. So the next steps tonight, obviously, is January 22nd. We have our public hearing for the project. If we do move forward with the project, the design would be going forward in February. March, we'd be looking at advertising for bids and then getting this out to bid as early as we can in April so that we can get decent bids and get construction rolling this spring and summer and get that completed, with the construction being complete fall of 2019. Any questions on the project?
I have a couple of questions. As we were talking about earlier, I've got a request from one of the residents on those avenues that is against it, mainly because he's getting hit double, because he's getting hit for the assessment on the avenue and also on the alley. Now, he's saying that he wouldn't mind it so much if it was one project or the other, and the majority of the property owners were for the project. He's saying that nobody on 7th Avenue signed the petition. Now, you're talking 35%. You got a petition. I haven't seen it. I haven't been able to look it up. With 35% of the people in that area that have signed the petition.
Yeah. So going back to the overall aerial view, so the petition that we have, basically the individuals on the southwest portion of it are the individuals that requested in the southwest portion of that block, are the ones that requested this project to move forward. And so that's the petition that we are acting on through the feasibility report and the public hearing tonight.
And the question I have is on the numbers for that 35%. Let's say there's 10 residents in that area, so you need 3.5 of them. So if a husband and wife sign a petition, does that count as 2?
Nope.
Or does that count as 1?
So the petition is based off of the front, or off of the footage to the property. So, and I'll just go along. So this particular parcel here, they've got footage on the south side that's 150 feet. This individual here has footage on the south side that's 150 feet. And then you add the alley in that, let's just say each one is 80 feet on there. And then same way with the folks over here, the folks over there, that's 150, 150, 150, and then 150 down here on each of those 2 lots. So it's based on the footage that they have adjacent to it, not the assessable footage, because we split that rate in half in order to calculate it. It's on the front, it's on the footage that they actually own against it.
But my question is on the petition and there's signatures on that petition. That is how you determine the 35%.
So we look at, even if it may be a husband and wife own this particular property, that's one lot.
Right.
And so let's just use this one as an example. They've got 150 and they've got an 80. They've got 230 feet of frontage towards the project. So we calculate the total length of frontage here, the total length of frontage here, frontage there, and frontage there, and divide it by how many people requested.
Okay.
So this particular lot on the bottom, they own 300 feet. They have 300 feet credited towards the overall length. And if they sign it, it would be towards the 35%, but in this case, they did not.
Okay, so it's based on the number of the feet of the property.
That's correct.
So actually, it doesn't take a majority of the homeowners to request and to have that go through.
Correct, correct. So if somebody owned the entire half of the block, they would obviously have more than that 35%.
They can control all the assessments and everything that went on in that block.
I wouldn't say they can control it, but they can have the petition, they can do the petition, and they would have some sway in it because of how much property they own.
But all the other property owners, even though they may not agree with it, are going to get hit with the assessment.
But that would be the purpose of the public hearing, to get that public input.
It's 7:44. We'll have our public hearing. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand or stand. I'll recognize you. You're typically allowed up to 2 minutes. Should be germane and concise, applying to the project. You can have a second comment period if you feel that's needed. Would anyone like to speak? Just please come to the podium and give us your name and address for the record.
Hello, I'm Julie Kapsch. My address is 805 10th Street Southwest, Little Falls. This is my husband, Sean Kapsch, and we are the petitioners. We went around to the neighborhood and spoke to various neighbors about proposing this. Of the people that we spoke to, only one of them opposed. There were 3 households, I believe, that did not answer the door, so we didn't get an answer from them either way. Our biggest reason for wanting to do this, we've owned this home since 2010. And over the years, the alleyway has gotten worse as far as traveling, and that is the only way we can get to our garage. So we have to use both the side streets that we petitioned to have paved also to get to the alley to get to our garage. The past springs have been wetter than usual and have caused huge puddling at the end of the alley on both ends, and then it ends up with big rivets. There's a few of us that actually use the alley to park. You know, one of them, another one is into a garage. Another one they park in their backyard. But it ends up being very riveted. And twice I've gotten stuck trying to go to work or come home from work in these big lake puddles. I do have a photo. Unfortunately, it's not the best photo of the rivets, but it just shows kind of, this is after one rainfall. Can we maybe pass that to them? After one rainfall, it just shows kind of the puddling that's happening. And it does get worse, and then in the winter it freezes, and then, you know, all the rutting. The other problem is on 7th and 8th Avenues that we are looking for to be paved. People tend to burn up and down them on motorbikes, four-wheelers, things like that. And in the summer, in the drier months, it causes a lot of dust floating around. We've worked very hard to improve our home. We've put new siding in. We've done new cement work. We put new windows in, new garage doors. We're just really trying to work at improving our home, and it gets a little frustrating that we can't enjoy it because of the dust.
Your 2 minutes are up.
Okay, thank you.
You can repeat yourself with another 2 minutes, or Sean can speak too.
Did you want to speak?
Sure, I can leave off.
So with the dust, we have to wash the house every spring and every fall because that's how dirty it gets. Every time we go out to use the picnic table, we have to wash the picnic table off. We do have another picture, if I could pass around. I put a $1,400 floor in my garage, which I can't keep clean, especially with the winter time. All the dirt that comes in from the tires and stuff. So I think that's about it. I think I covered everything, or you did. As far as that, it's and what she said before, the motorcycles and four-wheelers, they're a little crazy back there. So I'm hoping that you can look into approving that so we can keep it cleaner and keep the speed down. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Second, we'll see if there's any more. Anyone else like to speak? I think we'll close the public comment portion at 7:49. You had a comment, Mr. Storley?
Yeah, that alley, would it be possible, Greg, to clear that up if the avenues were tarred and then there was Class 5 or Class 8 put in that alley, such as the one we did behind my house? Because that really cleaned a lot of that stuff up, and then that would help with the complaint that I've got with the individual on the west side, where he's just getting double smacked with both the assessments. Or do we have to accept this as it is? And
we would. The way that petition projects go, it's basically, this is all together as one. If it were two separate petitions, then that would be different, but right now it's all as one. If we were to put more gravel in that alley, it may help. You know, the west side is a challenge because of the silty sand over there. In the springtime, it really really kicks our butt because of how soft it gets, and the soil doesn't drain vertically very well, and so a lot of it sits over there. It makes the gravel soft, and so when people drive through it, it gets those ruts. By putting blacktop on, you'll be able to get that water to go where you want it to, as opposed to just kind of sitting in the street. So this is kind of a one project as opposed to two, unfortunately, at this point.
But from what I see, it doesn't look like that alley's even being maintained with Class 5 or Class 8.
It has been.
It looks more like it's just the sand gravel part that weren't just tearing off the sod and stuff and just kind of working off of that and not really going in there with any type of a road mixture.
Why is this not working? We do put,
that's based on the picture that they sent around.
Yeah, we do put Class 5 on, some of the alleys. We can't do all of them every year, obviously, but we do the ones that are in really bad shape to try to keep them up as best as we can. There's just unfortunately a lot of those around
but
that.
If the city went and did the Class 5 and Class 8 in that alley, there wouldn't be an assessment to that, would there?
Correct. We do gravel alleys, but when you get to the blacktop, that's where we assess the property owners, yes.
What's the wish of the council?
Mr. President, I make a motion to adopt Resolution 2019-07.
Second.
Motion by Mayor Zilka, second by Councilmember Goshek, to approve Resolution 2019-07. Call the roll, please, Lori.
Whoa. We get more discussion here, right?
Sorry.
Okay, once again, I'm going to urge my colleagues to vote against this project. And to the petitioners, I'm not against you getting asphalt in your alley or improvements on your avenues, or to the members that represent the west side of town, I'm not against improvements over there. However, on this one, I feel like if you're going to petition for a project, knowing that your neighbors are going to be assessed, I feel like we should be consistent. And a couple of years ago, we had a petition for just an alley, and that individual could not muster at least 50% of his neighbors on the alley to sign on to the project, and we voted that down. So what I would like to see here is I would like to see us reject this project. I think the scope of it's too big and too encompassing, and then let the property owners petition the other parts of it by piece, like the alley, when we know alley paving is 100% assessed to adjacent property owners. Like Mr. Storley brought up, and I know the person who submitted the letter very, very well. I've talked to him a few times, and he brings up a point I've brought up in previous meetings, that nobody on 7th Avenue signed the petition. Less than, what's our percentage on 8th Avenue by footage? Maybe 50%. A quarter? Is it 50?
Yep, the two on the south, on the north side of the block there, let me try and bring it up here a second.
I'm going to look. We got 805, 809, 803, and then 900 8th Avenue. I'm looking at the petition right now.
So
900. Okay, so 50%.
These two signed it here.
Yep, 50% of 8th Avenue.
Yes.
Has signed it.
Correct.
Okay, so if this was a petition for construction on 8th Avenue and we have 50%, I'd be all for it. We factor in that 50% and then the percentage, I don't know that we're quite getting to 35, to be perfectly honest with you. I'll take you at your math, but still 35 is a far cry from 50% of the affected property owners. So for me, the consistency is a big thing with me. And when we were looking at an avenue on the northeast side of town a couple of years ago, we had no problem voting that down whatsoever, because the petitioner could not get half of his neighbors to go along with his plan. Here, we're even less than that.
And when I look at that, what about the south side of the road as considered in that too? So, so you only have 50% of the north side, so on this.
We have 100% of the north. We have 100% of the north side, but 0% on the south side.
Okay.
So both of those parcels, this parcel and that parcel, signed the petition. This vacant land here, and it's one owner, did not.
But that owner then disapprove of it, come in and.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Mr. President,
Were they asked?
I've got a couple comments. First of all, I go back to bringing the west side up to, that's a decent area of our community. The entire community is decent, but that area needs some upgrading. A lot of the west side does. I believe in the letter there was comments, or I heard comments somewhere, that some of the residents that did not sign the petition, it was because of the alley part, not of the avenue parts, is what I understood. That's what I had heard.
I don't know.
I don't know if I'm the only one to hear that, but because of that, I'm in favor of getting something done. I look at the total scope of the project, and the city's paying 86.4%. And that's not always the case in a lot of our situations.
Right.
So I think the residents are getting a good deal on this, and it's much needed improvements in our community. The west side needs it, the west side deserves it.
Mr. President, Greg, how many houses are there around there? How many property owners are that will be affected with that?
So we've got the vacant one on the bottom here. They have 2 parcels. We've got a house there.
8.
All right, so there's 8 of them. We've got one person that complained with that. Okay, we have one couple here that is in favor of it. That's 2. So there are 6 units that evidently don't care one way or the other because they are not here expressing their desire for it or their desire against it.
One of the others signed the petition for it.
Well, there's more than that.
There's 4 that signed the petition for it.
There's 3 others that signed the petition, and then using their words, what they said is, like, I believe 3 people didn't answer the petition. So, I mean, that's a non-answer. We don't know if they're for it or
Well, that's what I'm
against
saying. So, I mean, to me, if they're not here, it's a yes vote. That's what I'm looking at, because if they're here, not trying to say, no, I don't want it.
That's not what we did on 7th, whatever it was. It was an alley in between 4th Street and 3rd Street Northeast.
Greg?
We're changing the criteria because it's the west side, apparently. Well, Mayor, you shook your head, but what's the rationale then?
Was there avenues included with that other alley on the east side?
Well, there wasn't, but it was a petition project.
I'd say it's the same criteria.
It's a petition
because they're 2
project.
different ones. That's like saying a house and a garage are the same criteria.
But we got the whole.
Well, I don't agree that, we're elected here to sometimes be the voice for the people of our different wards. And so just because somebody doesn't interact in a certain way, that doesn't make it a yes or no vote. But I'll read this from the gentleman exactly as he wrote it. I am against the project being proposed for 7th and 8th Avenues and the alley joining the 2. I will be getting charged for an alley and an avenue that I don't want. If it was one project or the other, and the majority of the property owners were for the project, I would understand it. It is my understanding that nobody on 7th Avenue signed the petition, which is correct, right?
That is true, yes.
Are the blocks adjacent to it paved?
So this doesn't show it very well. I know this right here is not paved. This is not paved. I believe the pavement starts basically a block over. The streets are paved, but the avenues, even on the west of them, are lacking.
Is it common to spot pave one block?
Got to start somewhere. And I know there's been discussion from other councils, not this one, but other councils in the past, that there's a lot of gravel streets and avenues on the west side. Like you've seen in the in the assessment percentages, which is 13%, it's tough for us to do those projects because we can't bond for them. And so when you have an opportunity to tag it along with another project to be able to do that, I think you kind of have to take advantage of that, because otherwise you're not going to be able to do those projects because you just can't bond for them.
Because they're too small.
Because they're too small, because we don't assess enough for them. And it's a balancing act between how much you assess versus how much it benefits the properties.
And it wasn't staff initiated.
Correct, correct.
Yeah, from 8th Street going north and south to the west, those avenues are gravel until I believe you get to 10th Street. So those two blocks are gravel yet.
It looks gravel all the way to 11th and 12th. At any rate, I get the funny feeling I'm going to be in the minority here, so I would just, as we move forward, I'm thinking, if this is going to go through, then maybe we look at staff initiated to add to that, since we have such big projects, and let's actually, if we're going to do something, get something done and get it paved all the way to 12th Street, so we're not just grabbing a block here, a block there. We're never going to get anywhere.
Another discussion topic, but yes, we could do about 5 blocks worth. It's up to the council if we want to initiate that or not, because it's obviously over our budget of what we were talking about, but being that we probably aren't going to do any projects next year, it's a possibility to include that in this year's work.
But in order to do that, we would first have to vote no on this one.
No.
We can still.
You could still vote yes on it. It would be, so you've got this project, and then we'd be doing a separate project or feasibility report to do that other stuff.
This is getting back to some of the frustration I had when we did the northwest side, when I saw that coming a mile away, where we did one project and then the next year we got a petition to do 2 more blocks, when the year prior we were already there. So I'm just trying to avoid that again.
I think that's common, though. All the streets, even on the northeast side, we put in, it was segments. It wasn't the whole. We couldn't afford it.
Right.
So we're always doing sections.
Well, our general fund has a surplus that'll cover half of this.
We're spending it already.
I'm just going to reiterate what the mayor said. I feel the west side, if we're going to catch up on getting these dirt roads taken care of, we have to pursue it. I've been on this council 10 years, and how many of them roads have we actually done? Very few. And if we can get any of them done now, and more the better as far as I'm concerned, I'd vote for it right now. So that's my opinion.
Well, I mean, people move in there knowing that it's a gravel road.
They were all gravel.
Well, I think I'm going to join what Councilman Hanson here and probably vote against this at this time.
Call the question.
Let's call a roll, please.
Liljegren?
Yes.
Lundberg?
Yes.
Zilka?
Yes.
Hercog?
Yes.
Storley?
No.
Hanson?
No.
Gushik?
Yes.
Knopfler?
Yes.
Carries.
Lettings. Accept recommendation of the Heritage Preservation Commission, update historic downtown walking driving tour. Mary Warner. Lori.
The HPC is requesting that the downtown walking driving tour guide be updated. We are out of the brochures that we had for this walking tour, and so we did get some pricing. The low bid or low quote came from Mary Warner in the amount of $960 to update that brochure.
What's the wish of the council?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Liljegren, second by Councilmember Knopfler. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Elevated water tower inspections, KML. Greg.
As part of the 2019 budget, we budgeted to do some improvements at the 2 water towers. We're looking at coating both the east and the west tower. The first step in that is to do an inspection on the towers to see what condition the coatings are before we go ahead and put plans and specs together. There's kind of 2 different routes that you can take with it. One is basically an overcoat. You put another coating on top of it because the base coat is sufficient. The other process that you would take would be to sandblast it down to bare metal and then coat it and build it up. Coatings usually have a lifespan of about 15 to 20 years on the water towers before you have to sandblast it down to bare metal. The west tower is getting to be close to that age, so I suspect that one's going to have to be sandblasted down. The east tower up by Walmart over there, that one is newer, and so it's likely that one's going to need just an overcoat. But the first step would be to do this inspection to see what kind of condition it's in before we go ahead and get pricing on doing the coating on that. So tonight we are asking the council to approve the quote from KLM in the amount of $5,600 to be charged to the Water Improvement Fund.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Storley, second by Councilmember Lundberg. Is there any discussion?
Well, I don't want to make this sound too simple, but, I mean, can you look at it and tell, or just go by the calendar, it's time to do this, rather than flopping another $5,600 in a study?
So they actually put an ROV, basically a camera that floats down and looks at all of the welds and stuff inside the tank as well as outside of the tank.
Okay.
Part of the coating they actually take and do an X test to see. They basically scribe an X on the paint to see how it pulls off of there. So it's a little bit more in depth than just looking at it there.
Do they do thickness tests on the material too?
Not on the, I don't believe on the existing, but on the new stuff they do to make sure it's the correct thickness when it's put on.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes. New business. Resignation, Dustin Lukasavitz, park maintenance worker and post position. Accept. Greg.
Yeah, with regrets, I'm asking the council to accept the resignation of Dustin. He's been a good worker for the city of Little Falls. He did receive another position out at Camp Ripley, and so we wish him the best, but we will need to fill that spot. So we are now short in the Parks and Street Department by 1 employee, so we would like to post that this evening.
What's the wish of the council?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Goshek, second by Councilmember Knopfler. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes. Resignation, Leland Bundy, wastewater water superintendent. John.
Yes, after the there was a memo that went out from our attorneys regarding Lee Bundy. I did receive a voluntary acknowledgement of resignation from him. His last day will be January 11th. So we are finishing that process. Part of the discussion that we've been having with department heads also is going to be in regards to this position, whether or not we would be looking at continuing it or separating out into a water and wastewater separated position. So there'll be more information coming along with that as we discuss it. But right now, the assistants that were under both plants have been operating, managing each facility, and doing a fine job so far. So,
what's the wish of the council?
I move to accept.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Lundberg, second by Councilmember Hanson. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes. Parking lot use, Anderson Custom Processing, subdivision of Block 63, Thayer's Edition parking lot. Greg.
Yeah, if you recall at our last council meeting there in the work session, we had a request from Anderson Custom Processing to utilize the adjacent parking lot for some construction of their facility. They're looking at replacing a dryer at their facility, and so as part of that project, they need to temporarily place some steel for the framing of the facility as well as the dryer itself. They did this back in 2015 as well. Very similar process to one of their other dryers, and so the request this evening would be to approve that request to be able to use part of that parking lot for the use of this construction. I did speak with the property owner on the far east end as well as the tenant over there. They were fine with the project as long as they have, reasonable access to the facilities to be able to get in and out. I did speak with both Anderson as well as Contegrity Group, who was the construction manager on that, to see if that would be something that they would be able to accommodate. They did indicate that they would be able to do that. So tonight we are asking the council for approval of that use of the parking lot with the condition that they allow reasonable access to those adjacent property owners.
What's the wish of the council?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Liljegren, second by Councilmember Knopfler. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a question. Have they looked into using that lot, that open area between the west side and that storage facility? Have they looked at using that lot there for the staging area instead of tying up, some of the parking lot for
I believe they have, and Tony, who was here with Anderson Custom Processing, he'd probably be able to answer that a little bit better. But it's my understanding they've spoken with the current owner of that lot, and they plan on using that for basically the construction vehicles. So the workers that come to work on the facility, it's my understanding that they'll be using that area as opposed to other public spaces or spaces on the street. Did I get that correct, Tony?
That's correct. We may not use that parking for that. We looked at that, but because of the power lines in there, we thought it was a little too risky to use it for a laydown area and then lift your steel up, and because of the power line access. So going alongside parallel to our buildings there, just out in the parking lot, and probably the safest to lift for the steel that has to go in.
Don't the power lines go right along the alley there?
That's correct. It would be to the south of those power lines. For the laydown.
Are you going to have to do something with them power lines though to get in by the dryer?
No.
So why wouldn't you be able to use that lot between the west side and that other building for your staging of material instead of trying to tie up the alley and part of the parking lot back behind the cafe and the west side bar and so forth, where you could stage in that big open area where there's no traffic there? There's no reason not to be able to use that, other than unless you're going to have it, utilize it for some other purpose.
There's power lines that go across that lot too.
They go north-south.
There's, Mr. President, one concern I had, I mentioned earlier, was we're putting some really heavy equipment on the parking lot there. Parking lots aren't like the roads. They're not constructed with the same integrity. So I would be concerned if there was any damage from too much weight on the parking lot, that Anderson's would be responsible to fix it.
And
they agreed to that last time.
Yeah, if the council does approve that, we do have basically an agreement with drafted up that would say if there's any damage to the parking lot, that they would be responsible for repairing that.
Okay.
When you're talking repairing, or are they just talking about patching whatever little scars and stuff that they have in there? Or are they talking about repairing it to the either current or better condition than what it is now?
It'd be to the current or better condition. Most likely, if there's a pad where the crane was sitting, if that gets damaged, then they would cut that out, recompact that, and then build that back up so that it's that it's flush as opposed to a dip in the blacktop.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
It passes. Resolution 2019-08, increased recycling rates. Adopt. John.
I've met with the contract hauler for recycling, and you had received back in December a letter from the hauler describing some of the circumstances that he's going on. I would say the market on recycling has really been impacted pretty heavily, and to the terms that it's very little market or value for recyclable materials. Facilities like Pythons and St. Cloud right now aren't paying people to bring those materials to them. And other facilities are even charging for contamination fees if you're bringing in goods that are mixed or not sorted or not 100% pure. So there's the situation is that when the hauler negotiated the contract, they were assuming that payment for materials in the rate that they negotiated, that equated about $1,800 a month, which is roughly the cost that they have for hauling the materials to St. Cloud. And right now, since they haven't been paid for those materials, that's a cost that he feels is burdensome to them in providing this service, and is requesting a rate increase to cover the rate that we negotiated is based on covering 10 months of 2018 in which the $1,800 wasn't paid, and the remaining 36 months of the contract through 2021. So that would get them back the losses and cover their costs moving forward relative to what they weren't receiving or what they're no longer receiving from Pythons.
What's the wish of the council?
Make a motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hanson, second by Councilmember Storley. Any discussion?
John, I see that there would be an exception if the price they had to start paying to drop it off, and there probably is never going to be where it's going to be a cash cow anymore for recycling, but we have no protection on the backside. We had that discussion that if they did start to get paid for it, are they going to say, okay, we'll pay you some money back?
Verbally, that's what we've had. It isn't in this agreement. I struggle to find a way to write that into the agreement. It's hard for us to write long-term contracts like this when something fluctuates so much month to month. 1 month they're getting paid for the materials. Next month they're not. Next month they're getting charged for the materials, and then all of a sudden maybe they're starting to get paid for the materials again. Our utility rates are, it's best for us to try to keep them as consistent as possible throughout the year, because we hear it every single time a rate changes. Somebody's calling, or we're getting, not one person, but we're usually getting lots of calls. We have the winter averaging in the summer, or in the summer, and then we go back to regular billing in the winter time. And as soon as that change happens, the phones start ringing and people call in, and why is my bill changed? So on our purpose, administratively, we want to keep the rate as consistent as possible, as long as possible. Understandably, I understand the rational, objective arguments that the hauler is making for this. This is, in my mind, what we could fairly agree to conclude this contract. However, I understand and recognize the council has a lot of frustrations about garbage and recycling rates, and in particular about asking for costs, and what assurances do we have in terms of protecting the residents for that. So I see both sides. And really, this was what we could agree, and I said to the caller, I can't speak for the council. They're going to make their decision, but rationally, I can stand behind what we've this presentation and their guarantee to keep the rate the same as long as they're not then being charged for that. That said, it is a negotiation, and I'm certain that I would ask a lot of scrutinizing questions about where they're hauling their materials and whether or not it's in the best interest of the city to be paying that cost, even if it is being charged.
Mr. President, you know, it seems like we get these guarantees on these negotiations. We negotiate the contract, and then 6 months later, they're coming back asking for an increase because they forgot to do this or they didn't estimate this in or whatever. You know, on behalf of the residents, I just don't think we need to do it. If he's doing this for $1,800, if that's what it costs him, I mean, he wouldn't do that for nothing. He wouldn't be making a profit somewhere along the line. He wouldn't just be hauling our plastics down there or whatever just to get rid of them and not make any money on it. If we give him the increase, and I agree with Mayor Zilka too, if we give him the increase and then all of a sudden something happens, when we can't predict the future, but if something happens and all of a sudden he does get paid for that, will he drop it down, prorate it back down, and give the discount back to our residents? Or will they just say, well, we've got this, so we're going to just continue doing it at this rate? As a businessman, if he was going into the recycling business, he should have maybe taken a little bit more research into what was happening with the recycling before he got into it. I don't think it's the council's or the city's responsibility to make up for his losses.
Hear, hear.
I mean, I really don't, and I don't think you know, we raised the garbage rates after we settled. We gave him that 10-year contract. He's got a 5-year contract. He's got to figure out what might happen in those 5 years and go by. You know, I'm voting no on this one.
And there's also a paragraph saying that, you know, potentially he might come back and negotiate another increase. You know, that's written right into this.
Well, the research that I've done, TV and some reading, the recycling market, it's dead. It is totally collapsed. And I think it's asking a lot for somebody to operate their business at a loss. When it started, there was something to recoup in what they were doing, and that was the material that they were going around collecting they could actually sell to make something. I mean, I don't think anybody should be in business to, you know, with the thought, you know, well, the best I'm going to do is break even. If this is what's going to be the future of recycling, I think we need to look at, do we have a recycling program? I mean, if people want to, you know, do the right thing and feel good, then they take it out at the landfill, you throw it in the bins. Otherwise, you know, maybe we look at scrapping citywide recycling.
That might be something to look at when this
2021?
when the contract is up.
I was thinking that too.
You know, but for now, you know, if I get in over my head with my business, can I come to the city and have the city bail me out? No.
I mean, Council President, this is the contract, you know, it's because the city at some point decided it was important to provide a curbside recycling program, and this started 25 years ago. I mean, it was there for a reason. So I think the potential is if it's important for the city to have a curbside recycling program, how is that best implemented and at what costs? And I think in this instance, there's the reason they're asking is because something changed, and when at the time they provided the contract and they were anticipating the costs, and that change was pretty dramatic. Now, I would venture to guess if we said this contract is going to go away, you know, or 21 comes around and we have to renegotiate to provide a curbside recycling program, I'm guessing that the cost is not going to be $3.40 a month as what it currently is per customer per month. And even with that, I don't know what the materials are going to be that are even going to be acceptable by a contractor to go pick them up and take them to a facility. So there's a lot of unknowns in just not having anything or completely scrapping this and going to something new. But that said, I totally understand that there's it's a lot to be asking, and unfortunately a one-way guarantee on the rate it's going up, but it's not really guaranteed to ask to go down. Unfortunately, I don't have a clear mechanism to authorize that. If he's not going to share with me data from the facility, that's kind of on his terms. I can't force him to provide that for me.
Well, wait a minute here. Did you ask for some?
Well, the receipts. But he said they just stopped giving him a check. So he gets the weight tickets for the facility, but they just don't pay him. They don't have any receipt to say that there is a X value on what he received. This is what I've been told.
I wish he would have showed up tonight so we could at least question him and find out his intent if we don't give him the extra money, what he would do.
I would expect that he would not continue. He would want to terminate the contract based on.
He can do that with 30 days notice or something.
30-day written notice.
Then if that happened, would we lose that 14,000 or whatever we get from
the grant
county,
funds from the
grant
county?
Funds? Would that be in violation?
So by state statute, we have to provide curbside garbage and recycling. So
if we're going to have an organized program.
If we have,
Since we have an organized program.
So it's part and parcel with our regular refuse collection. Is what you're saying?
Well, so when this program was instituted back 20-some years ago, it was mandated by the state of Minnesota that we had to reduce the amount of garbage going into the landfill, and the way to do that is provide curbside recycling. So we're mandated by the state to have a curbside recycling program.
Because we have organized collection.
Because we have organized collection. And we don't necessarily, correct me if I'm wrong, John, but if the way the state statute is written, I don't know that we cannot have organized collection.
Well, we just redid that. I don't want to get into that again.
Yeah.
Right? That's set for another 9 years?
Yeah.
So apparently this is a problem with all the communities. What are they doing? Paying the extra money? Did you call some of the communities like Brainerd or St. Cloud and see what they're doing?
No, I hadn't.
Just so I understand, right now, we're under a contract at the $340 per month till the year 2021, right?
The monthly rate can be negotiated between the city administrator and the hauler and then approved by the council. So the rate can change. That's in the contract, that the rate can be negotiated. And the reason why he's asking for the increase is because of the losses that he suffered in 2018 and the anticipated losses that he would continue through the remainder of this contract, because the material value is nothing.
But if it's turned down, he can't unilaterally just say, well, I want 90 cents more a month for everything.
He can't get 90 cents more unless the council is going to approve it.
But what he could do is he could close the contract and then stop collecting?
He could
with a 30-day notice?
He could terminate the contract with a 30-day written notice, at which point, because we have an organized collection system, and it's our mandate or prerogative to provide a curbside recycling to reduce waste, we would have to go out and find RFP, go out for bids on a curbside recycling hauler.
So that's a contract that can expire or be terminated, unlike the contract for organized collect. This only goes one way. This is kind of eye-opening here.
Yeah, and there's only one hauler in this.
We want to redo a contract, they're going to sue us, but yet they can terminate it on their end with 30 days notice. Interesting.
Thank you, State of Minnesota.
So if we say, no, we don't want to do this, and then he says, well, okay, then I'm out of the contract. So then he's got 30 days, and then in between that time, then we've got to try to find someone, another hauler that would continue with the program. And it's not guaranteed then that it would be at 4:30, and it'd probably be more?
I think to me there's a lot at stake here. I mean,
What is it?
I don't want to hit a resident with another 90 cents on their city fees, but I mean, the ramifications of not doing this could far outweigh
Another $4 on their fees.
Right. 30 days, he decides to pull out, we got to get somebody else, and the best quote we can get is $5 an address. What did we gain?
Well, and I agree with you, because it seems like we're painted in a corner and there's not a lot of options on what to do, because it seems like they hold all the cards, and they have for a while.
How soon does this need to be approved? Does it have to be approved tonight? I mean, because I think I'd like to find out what is Brainerd doing with their, if the whole market is tanked, what are some of these other communities doing with their trash or their recyclables if they're not getting paid for it? And what are they paying per household for pickup? Are we in the correct ballpark here? You know, then I could say, well, okay, yeah, because we're, like you said, we're tied with Minnesota statute and everything else here. But I think I'd like to have a little more information about some of the other communities around here and what they are, if we don't have to decide tonight on this.
It's not, yeah, it is not make or break for the hauler. That, I mean, he'd prefer it to be as soon as possible, because without the increase, he continues to lose money. I think based on the rate that we negotiated.
But we're back paying him.
You know, we're back. The anticipation of the rate is that he would, over time, over the rest and remainder of the contract, he's going to recoup the losses that he had in 18. We're not going to upfront him the losses that he had.
Okay.
Where does he haul to? St. Cloud?
St. Cloud. Python, yes.
Are we in position to counteroffer, or?
If you say no and give me the direction to renegotiate,
I'm just looking
John?
at all the different options, so.
How many households do we have in Little Falls?
that are in this is just for 1 and 2 residential property.
How many places is he picking up?
It's between 2,700 and 2,800 on average.
Okay, so
It varies from month to
2,700
month because
times
we have
3,
snowbirds, we have people that move in, renters, things change, you know.
So we're collecting $9,180 a month for this, for recycling. How much of that does he get? All of it? Is there an administrative fee?
The administration, we have a separate administrative fee for recycling. That's the now $2.
So he's getting $9,180 based on 2,700 households. That's what he's getting now, at $340.
Yeah, and he wants to go to $430, right?
So he is making some money on this. It's not like he's losing $1,800 every month. He's just making $1,800 less than he was before.
Well, of course.
You got the truck, you got the 2 people running the truck, you got the fuel the truck
Yeah,
burns.
there's expenses, but it's not like he's doing it for free.
Workers' comp.
$100 an hour it costs him $100 an hour just to drive the truck to St. Cloud, and each one of those trips takes about an hour when you factor in dumping.
So if we wanted to get more information, we'd have to vote this down tonight as a no.
You could
Or we could table it
You
till-
could postpone it or table it until a specific, tabling would be
Later this meeting.
this meeting. Postpone it until the next meeting.
Well, I know we're kind of hogtied here, but
If you really,
I'd like to make can I do that?
Well, the motion has already been made.
Motion for this.
So we'd have
Accept it.
to, in
So we
order,
vote
if you
down.
wanted the motion to table it, we'd first have to turn this motion down to accept it, and then make the motion to table it, correct?
No.
I could amend it.
No, the person who made the motion would have to rescind their motion.
Rescind the motion.
That was you. If you're interested in that.
Was it? We were talking about this so long, I couldn't even remember.
It was you, and you seconded.
I'm thinking I might just back you in a corner here. I'll rescind my motion.
I'm going to withdraw the second. And then I'll make a motion to table.
Postpone.
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 I'll second that.
Do we have a date?
Till the next council meeting,
Next meeting.
February 4th.
February 4th.
So are we going to extend an invitation to Greg to come in then?
Yeah.
I mean,
Explain himself.
somebody rightfully mentioned he should probably be here, and I agree with that.
I think that was you.
No,
And then you'll have more information.
That wasn't
for us,
me.
John, and
Well, and
I
we'll
mean,
find out.
discussion hasn't been going on that long.
What's he want now? $4 and what?
4:30.
So then I assume
We would need to also,
we should probably vote on it.
Do we need a second on that? Or do we
did
have?
already.
Oh, okay.
so since the original one was a resolution, to postpone it, it isn't a roll call, is it?
Correct, no roll call.
All in favor of postponing Resolution 2019-08 to our next meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So we need to do the same with item E, I would think.
I would
Yes.
request that.
Someone like to?
I make a motion to
27,000.
postpone item E until the next meeting.
Second.
2,700. How many people?
Motion to postpone by Councilmember Lundberg, second by Councilmember Storley. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Resolution 2019-09, authorize execution law enforcement labor services labor agreement. John.
Okay, so this is the law enforcement union, so patrol officers and sergeants only now. After negotiations, we have come to an agreement, a tentative agreement on the terms for the council to approve. The broad scope is the 2.5% wage increase and for 2019 and a 3% wage increase for 2020. These are retroactive to January 1. The other key components in this, and this is that likely these are going to be the components that would apply for their union as well as all others. So the 2.5 and 3 is for other unions as well, and that's the same for the AFSCME contract as well. The other major component of this is for health insurance. In negotiating that and based on council input and feedback, we did go back to the table, requested a change to what we had originally discussed and presented to the council, and did negotiate down to $1,395 a month for the family plan premium coverage and $625 a month for the single coverage. It is a fixed amount, but it does equate to about the city picking up 70% of the difference and the employee picking up 30% of the difference. When I went back and looked at what the premium rate increases that we've been through in the last 2 years, we've had 16.5 for 2018 and then 11% in for this 2019 year. If we would have been under the old contract or under the old health insurance plan, and the premiums followed those same increases, and we would have been following the same percentage guarantees that we had, the 80% and 100% for 80% for family, 100% for single, we'd actually be paying roughly within $1,000 of the same of health insurance coverage just for premiums, with premiums and the HSAs that we're adding back in now, with the old plan as with the new plan with the HSA. So as I presented a couple years ago when we were trying to talk about health insurance premiums and offering a package and a plan that we could try to maintain or contain our costs as an employer and work with the employees to keep the premiums down. Unfortunately, we've certainly had some impacts that are beyond our control, just health insurance in general, and some I would say we made the right choice in moving those plan options, and that even with this is really actually a pretty fair deal, I believe, between the unions and us as employers, since this does put us into where we otherwise would have gotten to eventually in the old plan. So those are the two kind of key components on that. There are some other pieces for the LELS contract. We had we have what's called officer in charge pay. That was based on shifting some people in terms of their grades and steps. We did away with that and went to a flat rate. Part of this was discussion about looking at the points for the patrol officers, which did happen, and that was approved already, so they are moving into the grade. It is important in this contract, we did have language to, when they move into this grade, they're moving only into the specific wage that they were, not into an increase as it would be if they were getting a promotion. So that was an important aspect on us to negotiate, so we're not jumping them up farther steps ahead from where they otherwise would have been. And with that, really, this was one of I'd say the easier ones to negotiate. They've been very fair to work with. Part of the presentation that LELS has had has been, their contentions has been on their market rate for the patrol officers and the top end to pay. We end up with the grade shift. It gets them right on track with where that is. So I think in the end they're very satisfied with the terms of the contract.
Start that next year because. What's the wish of the council?
I move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Lundberg, second by Councilmember Storley. Any discussion?
No, you're saying this is just a tentative agreement. Employees still have to vote to accept this?
Yeah, their group, I believe, still has to. They've approved they've voted as a group all the terms of this tentative agreement. So if something were to change, it would have to go back. But at this point, they'd readily accept it.
Okay, so if we accept it, it's no longer tentative. It is.
Yeah.
And those
so
premiums.
that's AFSCME as well. And then I think 49ers we're supposed to meet today.
And those premiums there that you have here, now is that the employee cost or is that a 70-30 split of them costs?
It's the city's cost and it is fixed. So there is, I think the total premium for family is $1,755. And the total premium for single is like $657. So the employee is picking up some of that cost.
So this is just the cost of to the city, and then the rest of the premium
is the employee
is paid by the employee. So these aren't the actual premium costs; these are only the costs.
The city's portion of the premium.
Okay.
And for your information, we historically, prior to the last contract, the last 2-year contract, our premiums were negotiated to pay a percentage of the premium. So we paid 80% of the premium regardless if it went up or went down. That's what we paid. Now we're paying a fixed portion of the premium.
With caveats.
With caveats. They are, I should also mention, they did, it is still included the 7% rider for reopener to negotiate health insurance. So if the premiums increase more than 7%, we would come back to the table to renegotiate.
Resolution, call roll, please.
Lundberg?
Yes.
Zilka?
Yes.
Hurkak?
Yes.
Storley?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Gushik?
Yes.
Knopfler?
Yes.
Liljegren?
Yes.
Carries.
Resolution 2019-10, authorize execution, American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees Labor Agreement. John.
Ditto. They're the only I'd say the only principal difference between, for AFSCME was a change to increase their, the total amount of, it would accelerate their vacation accrual. They would fall in line with the MAPE contract, and as I've met with members of MAPE, that was one of a big contention for them, was that this is the only benefit they get beyond the other employees, because they have no eligibility for comp time because they're all exempt employees under Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA. So we have a discussion about modifying their rate as well, but really that was the biggest thing. I would say they were the group that was pushing hardest for wage increases beyond what we did settle on to. So it was that was a nice carrot a carrot to them to come back down on the wages.
What's the motion to accept?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Knopfler, second by Councilmember Liljegren. Any discussion?
Is this the last contract then that's going to be done for a couple of years now, or?
2 years. They're 2-year contracts.
And the terms are the same as what was with the LELS?
For the wages and the health insurance, there are other terms in the contract are different because they're different groups of employees. But the biggest thing that we have is to unify wages, the wage increases and the healthcare costs. Going back into old wounds, that was a really hard negotiation in the last contract to move that along. So it's been a really nice benefit to have that unified, especially on the employer side. It really helps with our budgeting process. It really helps with pay equity that you saw tonight. It makes things a lot simpler, and it also makes a lot of less contention amongst employee groups when they all get the same wage increase and they all have the same eligibility for health care. There are just, because of the nature of the work of the employee groups, there are differences between them, but principally the wage and the health insurance are the same.
Resolution, call roll, please.
Zilka?
Yes.
Hurkacz?
Yes.
Storley?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Bushik?
Yes.
Knopfler?
Yes.
Liljegren?
Yes.
Lundberg?
Yes.
Carries.
City Council reports on city authorities, boards, bureaus, commissions, and committees. Anyone? Announcements, anyone?
Council President, just for the council's information, we are working on the online bill pay. I know that's come up several times, so finally got information back from Tyler Technologies on getting that instituted or implemented. So hopefully within the next 2 months, we can get that up and running. There is the 2.25% credit card fee, and then Tyler charges $1.25 per transaction for using the online bill pay. As we had discussed when we initially talked about this, both of those fees will be passed on to the resident that uses the online bill pay. That will allow them to pay their bill online. They can set up auto pay, so it will automatically be paid, and they'll also be able to do pay over the phone, 24 hours a day, so they don't have to call us and have us sit and input all the numbers and everything. So they'll be able to do all of those things with the online bill pay. So the other thing that we were looking at, it's called Output Processor, and the Output Processor allows us to email bills to the customer if they so choose, and as a part of that, we can also email direct pay stubs to employees if they would choose, rather than doing the paper copies. So for that, there is a license fee, an implementation fee, and then an annual maintenance fee. I did figure out today that the cost to the city for the bill, the envelope, and the postage is approximately 53 cents a bill. The annual fee is like $11.69 or something like that. But if we have 184 customers sign up for the online bills to receive their bill via email, if we have 184 customers sign up for that, it will pay for itself each year.
The annual fee.
the annual fee that we have. So, I mean, I think that's a good deal. We have a lot of people that call and ask about doing the online bill pay. So we'd kind of like to implement both of those at the same time, then we can, do a mailing and get information out that that's available to them. And hopefully we have a lot of people take advantage of it. So.
Anyone else?
Mr. President, just quickly, because we didn't get time at the end for the constituent complaints, I just want to bring up the sidewalk issues. I've got a few phone calls. Greg and I talked. It's kind of a circle. They call City Hall, then they call me, and then I call Greg, and Greg talks to Doug. But I think they take it, I think they panic when they get that and think, okay, I'm going to get fined $100. And all of them I talked to had done snow removal. I went and checked on some of them, and one, the snow has fallen off the tree after, or it's drifting over. And so, they're like, I put salt down, but it's 0 degrees or it's 20 below. It's not going to melt. Well, they have to understand that our process is that someone sees it's a violation, and by the time they get that letter, it's probably 4 days. Yeah. So I just think they need to understand not to panic. We're not out there looking to ding a bunch of people with $100 fines, but they're also liable, and we're liable if somebody slips and falls. So we're actually really looking out for them.
Yep.
Anything I left out, Greg, on?
Basically, salt, and you're right, the temperature has to be right in order for that to work. Just keep an eye on it. We just want to make sure that people don't slip and fall on the sidewalks. So it was kind of a way to get people to remember to take care of the sidewalks. I know most of them did a pretty good job. It was this first snowfall was pretty tough because it was a heavy snowfall, and then it got warm and it melted, and then it froze again. So that's all we ask, is to keep an eye on it, put some salt down, try to take care of that so people don't slip and fall on it.
Thank you.
I just have one thing. I was thinking about the process we take when people are up talking, and after their 2 or 3 minutes, it's abruptly just up, time's up. Is there a way that we can incorporate so when they get down to 30 seconds, we could just give them a 30-second notice and then a 15-second notice so they can kind of finish up with what they have to say, and instead of just it seems just kind of a little crude or rude to just say, oh, time's up, and then expect them to finish.
We do give them an opportunity to speak again. They can get an additional 3 minutes.
During this
2 minutes in public hearing.
2 minutes, sorry.
I just think as a city representative, if we give them a little fair notice that their time is coming up, to an end, it's just, we don't seem as harsh to just say, oh, time's up.
One simple thing that I see often in times like that is whoever the timekeeper is holds up a card that just says, how much time.
Well, it's not a bad idea. I mean, we could also have a timer that people can see.
Well, and some people that go up there bring their cell phone and turn it on.
In case we're shorting them on time?
Yeah.
But if you interrupt them and say you've got 15 seconds and you're taking up their time already,
yeah.
Start over again.
And then they lose their train of thought.
Yes.
We'll check into it.
Council President, I do have one other announcement. Next Wednesday, Mayor and I will be attending the Legislative Action Day for the Coalition. Trying to also schedule meetings with our representative and our senator for that afternoon. Really good opportunity to get together for our group and hear from legislators, and just got word that the governor has actually signed up to be our keynote speaker for that event. So it'll be really great opportunity to hear from him and hear what his intent is for the session, and make sure that he understands and hears the needs of our members in the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities.
We'll adjourn at 8:53.
Wow, this is the latest ever.